Hi, this video is part of my complete Docker and Kubernetes course. The link is in the description of the video, so make sure to give a thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss any updates, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's get started. Hello and welcome to this project where we will build a Nodes REST API. This project will focus once again at working with multiple containers, but let's take it a step further and let's actually start working with multiple services. Let's then see what we will achieve with this project. We start by creating a Nodes REST API with two services, nodes and notebooks, and an NGINX based reverse proxy sitting in front of these two services and providing a single entry point that will then redirect requests based on the request or on the URL path. We will explore creating and managing multiple Compose projects, and we'll also leverage Compose merges functionality to integrate these individual projects and manage them simultaneously. Last but not least, we will also spend a few minutes discussing how we can manage service outage and improve our application resiliency to still be able to work even if one of the services is down. Once again, I would highly encourage you to give it a try and implement this project on your own. So here are some of the specifications for the REST APIs for both the notebooks, and the nodes is coming in the next page. Let's start with the notebooks first. Post requests to the /API/notebooks endpoint are expected to include a name in the request body, and if that's not the case, the service should return 400. It's also possible to receive a description information in the body, and if everything is valid, then we should save the notebook information and return a 201. Whenever we send a GET request to this endpoint here, to the /API/notebooks endpoint, then we should simply get all the notebooks back or an empty array if there are no notebooks saved. We can then send a GET request to a specific notebook ID under the /API/notebooks/:ID, and this :ID, once again, it represents a variable value here, so we can receive any arbitrary string. And if the notebook with provided ID does not exist, this endpoint should return a 404, otherwise it should return the notebook information. Same thing for the put request. If a notebook with the provided ID does not exist, put requests to the ID endpoint should return 404. Otherwise, if the ID exists, it should update the notebook information and return a 200. Delete requests, once again, follow the same pattern. So if the ID does not exist, simply return a 404. Otherwise, if the ID exists, we should delete the notebook and return 204. And last but not least, if you wish to implement a /health get endpoint here to return a 200 and the text up, then by all means go ahead with this. Let's then move on to the Nodes REST API specification. Whenever we post to /API/nodes, the endpoint expects the request body to contain both the title and the content fields. It should return 400 if this is not the case. We can also optionally receive a notebook ID in the body, and if the notebook ID does not exist, we should return a 404, and if the notebook's service is down, we should store our note with the provided notebook ID, and we will discuss also in the lectures what we could potentially do to actually validate this notebook ID after the fact. So basically we will just store this, and then we will discuss several approaches we could take. We're not going to focus on the implementation of these approaches, but it's good that we discuss to really brainstorm different solutions we could implement in our code. After all that, and if the information is valid, we should save the nodes information and return a 201. Similarly to the notebooks REST API, whenever we want to get /API/nodes, we should get all the nodes. We can then get a specific node by hitting the ID endpoint. Once again, if it doesn't exist, we return a 404 or we return the node information. We can update nodes, we can delete nodes, and we should also have a health endpoint. Hopefully this gives you a rough overview and some good material to work with when trying on your own to implement this project. I'm super excited to get started. I hope you are too. So let's jump right away into our next lecture.